I discovered something that shattered my world. My wife's supposedly innocent girls' trip was actually a romantic getaway with her affair partner. I'm a security specialist, and yet I couldn't see the signs in my own home. The irony isn't lost on me. When I finally caught them at their luxury resort and served them divorce papers, their shocked faces told me everything I needed to know. I'm now dealing with what feels like the worst betrayal of my life, uncovering that my marriage has been built on lies for months. As a data security expert, I've spent countless hours reading through relationship forums, analyzing patterns of failing marriages like I would analyze system vulnerabilities. That methodical research made me more aware of subtle behavioral changes, which ultimately helped me piece together what was happening. Emma, my wife of 6 years, wasn't the person I thought I knew. I had been blind to her true nature all this time, living in what felt like an elaborately crafted simulation of a happy marriage. Flashback. I used to believe our love story was unique, something special that set us apart from other couples. Emma and I met at Best Buy, of all places, where I was comparing monitor specs for a custom PC build. I had spreadsheets scattered across the display counter when she approached, looking genuinely interested in the technical specifications. We connected instantly over our shared passion for technology. She was building her first gaming rig, and I helped her select the perfect monitor for her setup. That chance encounter led to coffee, where she told me about her work as a full-stack developer. Being in IT security myself, our conversation flowed effortlessly from coding practices to cybersecurity challenges. Our relationship progressed rapidly after that initial connection. During our 3 years of dating, we moved in together and adopted a cat. I proposed during a tech convention in Seattle. It seemed fitting for us. The wedding was intimate and perfect, exactly what we both wanted. Now, looking back at those memories through the lens of recent discoveries, it feels like I was living in a carefully constructed virtual reality where everything seemed perfect but wasn't real at all. Emma has two close friends from college, Taylor and Olivia, who've been inseparable from her. They maintain weekly video calls, take trips together, and celebrate every significant life event as a group. Over the years, I got to know them well enough. Or so I thought. While I wouldn't call them close friends, we had a good rapport at social gatherings and occasionally hung out as couples, since they're both married too. They've been present for all our major moments, from our engagement party to our housewarming. First red flag. The first warning sign appeared when I came home early from work one day and found Emma on a video call with Taylor and Olivia. She was in our home office, but her entire demeanor changed the moment I walked in. This wasn't her usual relaxed interaction with them. Her body language shifted completely, and she started speaking in an unnaturally casual tone. When I tried to lighten the mood with a joke about their conversation topic, she dismissed it with a vague comment about weekend plans. The whole interaction felt wrong. Emma, who usually shares everything about her calls with her friends, was suddenly being evasive. My security training kicked in, and I found myself analyzing the situation like I would a potential data breach. I stayed near the office door after leaving the room, my instincts telling me something wasn't right. Her voice had dropped to a whisper, unusual for someone who typically speaks animatedly during these calls. They were discussing travel plans, and I caught repeated mentions of he and him. I knew about their planned Cabo trip, but the secretive tone and mysterious male references didn't align with what I knew about their vacation arrangements. Emma had mentioned this Cabo trip a few weeks ago, presenting it as their annual girls' getaway. They make a point of taking one big trip together every year, like their Vegas weekend last summer and their Colorado ski trip the year before. I had considered joining them since I had accumulated vacation days, but Emma seemed strangely hesitant when I brought it up. She emphasized maintaining their girls-only tradition, and I didn't push the issue since I was scheduled to oversee a major server migration project anyway. Suspicious behavior. After the call ended, Emma's behavior took another suspicious turn. She approached me while I was working, showing unusual affection, almost like she was trying to compensate for something. The pattern felt familiar, reminiscent of her behavior during that rough period last year when she was spending excessive time with her new project team. Back then, she would stay late at the office and return home, being overly attentive, as if trying to ease some hidden guilt. In my line of work, we always say that irregular patterns are the first sign of a security breach. I'd checked her phone before during that work project phase, when she was receiving messages at odd hours, but found nothing suspicious then. This time felt different. We'd always shared our phone passwords. It started as a practical arrangement for emergency contacts and became our norm over our 9 years together. Now those same security practices were about to reveal something I never wanted to find. Discovery. I waited until Emma was in the shower and accessed her messages with Taylor and Olivia. As a security specialist, I felt a familiar tension, the same I get when investigating a potential data breach. Instead of their usual group chat filled with memes and casual complaints about married life, I found something far more disturbing. They were discussing her trip, not their trip. The messages were loaded with excited emojis and comments like, "Marcus will love that new bikini," and "make sure to get lots of pictures for us." The conversation had the giddy energy of teenagers planning a secret date, not married professionals in their 30s. The deeper I scrolled through their chat history, the worse it got. Scattered among their normal work discussions and family updates were secretive messages about someone named Marcus. Then came the photos. A man who looked like he belonged on a dating app profile, posing shirtless by a lake. Another showed him with his arm around Emma at what appeared to be an upscale restaurant. The timestamp revealed it was from just 2 weeks ago, when Emma claimed she was having dinner with work colleagues. Betrayal details. The chat revealed that Marcus was a regional sales manager at a competing tech company, adding another layer of betrayal to the situation. Taylor and Olivia were actively encouraging this affair, the same women who sat at our dinner table last weekend, acting completely normal while knowing Emma was planning a trip with another man. The messages showed they had booked connecting rooms at a luxury resort in Cabo. They were planning intimate dinners and couples massages, complete with heart emojis and excited messages about their time together. I couldn't read anymore. My hands were shaking as I put her phone back. The irony wasn't lost on me. As someone who protects digital security for a living, I had just uncovered the biggest breach of trust in my personal life through a simple message check. I grabbed my car keys and drove around our neighborhood for an hour, trying to process everything through the lens of my analytical training, but emotion kept overwhelming logic. When I returned home, Emma was worried about my disappearance. She kept asking if there was a security crisis at work, since I never leave without explanation. I fabricated a story about needing to clear my head after a stressful client call. We even sat down to watch TV together, and she cuddled next to me as if everything was normal. Meanwhile, I was researching divorce laws on my phone, my security background helping me document everything methodically. Investigation. Walking away didn't feel sufficient. My analytical mind needed more data. I knew I had to end things, but I wanted to understand the full scope of the breach. Emma would likely move on with Marcus, possibly even bring him into our home eventually. Like tracking down the source of a security threat, I started investigating Marcus online. With his first name and location, I could utilize my professional skills to find more information. I needed to know who this person was that my wife had chosen over our marriage. But more than that, I needed to ensure there would be consequences for this breach of trust. The betrayal wasn't just from Emma. It extended to Taylor and Olivia, who sat at my dinner table, laughed at my jokes about network security, all while helping plan this deceptive trip. Planning the confrontation. Someone on a security forum suggested showing up at their romantic getaway. Initially, it seemed excessive, spending thousands on last-minute flights and hotels just for a confrontation. But as I analyzed the situation like I would a security breach response plan, it made perfect sense. I had all their reservation details from the chat logs. I could arrive with divorce papers and document their deception firsthand. The expenses would be significant, especially with legal fees approaching, but having concrete evidence would be invaluable for the proceedings. Preparation. Looking back at these past 2 weeks, my life has transformed into something I would typically see in a data breach investigation, methodically gathering evidence while maintaining a facade of normalcy. The situation began when I discovered my wife's girls' trip to Cabo was actually a planned romantic getaway with her affair partner. My professional experience in digital security helped me uncover the truth, but nothing could have prepared me for the emotional impact of this discovery. Many people in security forums had warned about these types of trips often being covers for infidelity, which aligned perfectly with what I uncovered in my initial post. But I never imagined Emma would do this. We were even discussing starting a family next year, planning our future together while she was orchestrating this deception. Maintaining cover. I maintained normal protocols at home, treating it like a long-term security operation. We continued our regular routines, sharing dinner, watching our favorite tech documentaries, and I even helped her pack for the trip. She kept talking about her planned activities with Taylor and Olivia, showing me carefully selected group chat messages about spa appointments and beach activities. Meanwhile, I was coordinating with a divorce lawyer and booking my own flight to Cabo. The lawyer and I spent hours preparing the documentation, ensuring everything was properly recorded like a detailed security audit. He suggested recording any confrontation as additional evidence, a standard practice in my line of work. The last-minute plane ticket cost nearly as much as our honeymoon to Japan, but I viewed it as a necessary expense for this operation. I used some of our emergency savings after all. This qualified as an emergency situation. The morning of. The morning of her flight, I drove Emma to the airport, maintaining my cover as the supportive husband. I watched her walk through security with her new beach clothes and the expensive sun hat I'd bought her for her birthday. I scanned the terminal for Marcus, but didn't spot him. He was likely on a different flight to avoid detection, a basic security protocol for their deception. While waiting for my evening flight, Emma kept sending updates, maintaining her cover story. She texted pictures of her ocean view room and the resort's infinity pool, expressing how much she missed me already. Each message only strengthened my resolve to expose this security breach. Preparation. I packed like I would for a covert operation, light and efficient. Just a backpack with the divorce papers, essential clothes, and my phone for documentation. After checking into the resort that night, sleep was impossible. My mind kept processing all our years together. Our first meeting over computer specs, our first apartment with its questionable network connectivity, all leading to this moment. The confrontation. The next morning, I initiated contact with Emma, maintaining my cover. She responded with a poolside selfie, mentioning she'd be sunbathing at the main pool near the lobby with its swim-up bar. Perfect intel for my operation. I secured the divorce papers in my bag and headed to my target location. I spotted them immediately at the far end of the pool deck. Emma was stretched out on a lounger in her new blue bikini, the one supposedly bought for her girls' trip. Marcus was next to her, casually applying sunscreen to her legs, his actions suggesting an established intimacy. I thought about all the late nights she claimed to be working on critical system updates, wondering how many were spent with him instead. I activated the recording on my phone and positioned it in my shirt pocket, following my lawyer's advice about documentation. Standing behind them felt surreal, like monitoring a system breach in real time. Marcus glanced up, but dismissed me as another hotel guest. He continued discussing their dinner plans with Emma, completely unaware of the impending security breach. The confrontation escalates. Marcus finally looked up again, asking if he needed assistance, his tone suggesting I was interrupting their privacy. That's when Emma noticed me. She jolted upright, knocking over her drink, removed her sunglasses, and stared at me in shocked recognition. Her reaction confirmed everything. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a system glitch. This was a deliberate breach of trust. I presented the manila envelope to Emma. She accepted it, likely recognizing the format from our recent house refinancing documents. Marcus stood up, attempting to intimidate me with his physical presence. I'd seen his type before, overconfident in their security measures, until faced with a real threat. The altercation. Marcus made a critical error. He put his hand on my chest and tried pushing me back, playing tough in front of Emma. She attempted to intervene, perhaps remembering how I had efficiently handled an aggressive drunk who threatened her at a tech conference recently. But Marcus persisted, maintaining contact and demanding I leave them alone. The situation was absurd. This man was trying to assert authority while on a romantic vacation with my wife. The next sequence of events happened with the speed of a system crash. His push became more aggressive, and I responded with precision, a forceful shove that sent him stumbling backward over a lounge chair and straight into the pool. The splash was satisfying, like watching a malicious code get eliminated from a system. Other guests started recording on their phones, probably seeing this as prime social media content. The aftermath. Emma switched to crisis management mode. She attempted the classic, "It's not what it looks like," defense, an absurd claim considering she was in a bikini with another man at a couple's resort. I questioned her about Taylor and Olivia, knowing they were likely at their desks back home. She opened the envelope just enough to confirm the divorce papers, then closed it quickly as if denying access would change the contents. Her reaction was immediate, not the quiet tears from when her father was hospitalized, but full sobbing that attracted even more attention. Marcus was emerging from the pool now, looking like a compromised system ready to crash. He was clearly preparing for a confrontation, but security guards were already approaching, alerted by other guests. Exit strategy. I executed my exit strategy, walking away from the pool area without looking back. Emma attempted to follow, still holding the divorce papers, but stopped when I turned to face her. The situation was contained. Mission accomplished. Quick departure. Back in my room, I executed a rapid departure protocol. The front desk staff appeared concerned during my early checkout, likely informed about the pool incident, but they efficiently arranged my transportation. The entire extraction took less than 30 minutes. A clean operation with maximum impact. Airport reflection. I spent 6 hours at an overpriced airport bar, analyzing the collected data. The bartender maintained a steady supply of coffee while I reviewed the video evidence repeatedly. There it was in high resolution. My wife with another man at a resort well beyond our joint income bracket. The timestamp would be invaluable for the legal proceedings. The operation cost nearly $3,000 between flights, hotel, and airport expenses, but the evidence gathered was worth every cent. Home base. That night back home, I implemented a communications blackout, powering down my phone and experiencing the best sleep since detecting the initial breach. Emma appeared at our house 2 days later, still in her beach attire, showing signs of significant stress. She attempted to run her standard recovery protocol, crying and claiming she could explain everything, that Marcus was just a work colleague, that nothing serious had transpired between them. The same defensive algorithms she deployed when I questioned her about late office team meetings. System lockdown. I instructed her to collect her belongings and relocate to her sister's residence. Her sister's previous suspicious behavior at family gatherings now made sense. She had been aware of the security compromise all along. Emma has maintained radio silence for the past few days, likely realizing the situation is beyond recovery. Taylor and Olivia haven't attempted contact either. They understand their role in this security breach. Yesterday, I implemented additional security measures, changing the locks and relocating her plants from the backyard to the garage. A complete system reset was in progress. 1 month later, after a month of legal processing and emotional debugging, I can finally say this system breach has been contained. The divorce is finalized, and I'm starting to recover my personal protocols. Discovering Emma's affair destroyed the image of our perfect marriage, but at least now I have accurate data, and I got to witness her carefully constructed, planned crash at that resort. Video evidence. The video of Marcus falling into the pool has become popular among my tech colleagues, though I keep advising against its distribution. Emma waited a week after the Cabo incident before attempting to reestablish contact. She sent a lengthy message about needing space to process everything, as if she were the one whose system had been compromised. During that week, her sister attempted to run interference, calling to explain how Emma was going through something and needed understanding. Deeper breach. The betrayal extended beyond just Emma. Her entire network was compromised. Taylor and Olivia, who had been bridesmaids at our wedding, had actively assisted in planning the unauthorized access. The divorce was inevitable. There was no patching a breach of this magnitude, especially not after witnessing their behavior at that resort while I was supposedly debugging our new home server. Legal resolution. Our divorce lawyer executed the proceedings with professional precision. The video from the resort served as primary evidence, clearly showing Emma with Marcus when she was supposedly on a girls' trip. We also had screenshots from her group chat discussing their plans and multiple suspicious financial transactions. The lawyer particularly focused on a series of unauthorized Uber rides to locations where Emma had no legitimate business and restaurant charges exceeding normal single-person parameters. Financial investigation. Analyzing our financial records revealed an entire shadow network of deception. We uncovered charges from high-end lingerie stores on days she claimed to be shopping for work attire. Coffee shop transactions near Marcus's office appeared regularly, along with various small expenses that created a clear pattern of unauthorized activity. The most damaging evidence was a receipt from a premium tech store. She had purchased him a smartwatch for his birthday while claiming to be selecting a gift for her father. Each discovery reinforced that terminating the marriage contract was the correct protocol. Settlement terms. The final settlement processed efficiently in my favor. Emma's legal representation initially pushed for 50% of all assets, but quickly recalibrated their approach when presented with evidence of her affair-related expenditures. They settled for her receiving 30% of our savings, significantly less than standard protocol would dictate. The judge was particularly critical of how she'd utilized our joint funds to finance her affair, especially the Cabo operation. I retained possession of our smart home system and my vehicle, and importantly, custody of Robin, our dog. Logical, since I was the one who maintained his care protocols and veterinary appointments. Family protocol breach. Emma's family initiated contact as soon as news of the divorce propagated through their network. Her parents, who had integrated me into their family system for 9 years, were shocked when I presented the evidence. Her father, who frequently praised my compatibility with his daughter, went silent after reviewing the data. Her mother, who had maintained weekly dinner invitations, kept questioning the validity of my evidence. I walked them through the Cabo incident, showed them the video documentation, and detailed their daughter's extensive deception protocols. They were forced to process that their daughter had compromised a stable marriage. Investigation of Marcus. Further investigation into Marcus's identity revealed additional complexities. A basic search through Emma's social network connections identified him as a regional sales manager at a competing tech firm, married with 2 children. His public profile displayed a carefully curated feed of family photos, vacation snapshots, Little League games, and anniversary celebrations. His life projection seemed perfect, complete with a white picket fence and manicured lawn. Yet this carefully maintained facade wasn't enough for him. The pattern made sense. He and Emma were compatible in their willingness to compromise their marriage protocols for temporary system privileges. Expanding the investigation. Contacting Marcus's wife was one of the most challenging protocols I've had to execute. I sent her a secure message explaining my identity, attached the Cabo video evidence, and screenshots from Emma's group chat. Her initial response was defensive, accusing me of data manipulation, citing their 15-year marriage stability, children's college funds, and anniversary records. However, as she processed the evidence, particularly the dates matching his supposed business trips, her system perspective began to shift. Her shock transformed into anger, then into calculated determination. A week later, she sent a follow-up message, expressing gratitude for exposing the truth about her marriage. She had already initiated her own divorce protocols and relocated to her sister's residence. Final system status. The aftermath has been intense, but systematically satisfying. Both marriages terminated due to 2 individuals' failure to maintain security protocols. The video of Marcus's pool incident somehow propagated through various social media platforms. I maintain plausible deniability regarding its distribution. His company's HR department likely had concerns seeing their regional sales manager compromised by an angry husband. Information from mutual connections indicates he's relocated to a different state after his system collapse. Emma currently maintains temporary residence with her sister while searching for permanent housing, likely processing how a few months of unauthorized access cost her a stable marriage, our smart home, and majority of her savings. The lesson is clear. If you can't maintain system integrity, don't initiate a marriage protocol. Security breaches always leave traces.